How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Dating with Demoldey. I'm your host, Keith Demolder. The fourth edition, and it is a good one. We're changing genres. Still romantic, but we're doing a hit musical, that being the 2016 film La La Land. A fantastic film, one of my favorites, probably a top 50 movie of all time for me. Fantastic visuals, great acting. Emma Stone, Ryan Gosling. We just did The Notebook, but we had to bring Gosling back again because he's just so damn good, you know. And then some people say I might look like Gosling. I don't know. You tell me. Maybe I'm off my hinges. But either way, we're talking about La La Land today. This will be more of a shorter video than some of the others. I know some of the others are around 2 hours, and I appreciate your patience in watching all of them. But this one will be a little shorter. The main themes we're talking about today, a lot of it is about the idea, not necessarily of true love, but the idea of supportive love, the idea of two people loving each other even when it's hard, and also being willing to walk away for the sake of the other person. So similar to how we saw it with Lon and Allie in The Notebook, it's kind of the same thing with Mia and Sebastian here in La La Land. Spoiler alert, by the way. Yeah, they don't end up together. But there's some really cool moments, a couple conflicts that I'll break down from the movie that I think are important to note. So yeah, with that said and done, let's get into it. It's episode 4 of Dating with Demoldey.
Keith is back for more, listening to what's in store. It's La La Land, the musical delight. Keith will tell you what's wrong and right. Mia and Sebastian get you see things. Well, no one just stop dating with Demoldey. Dating with Demoldey.
All right, so today we are talking about the classic musical, the testament to Hollywood and the city of angels, Los Angeles, as they call it. La La Land. It is a classic movie from the 2010s. That makes me feel old as hell. Classic musical based in LA, as we know. I'm not going to go super in depth into the musical elements, and this will be kind of a shorter video because a lot of it is singing and dancing and, and all that good stuff. But yeah, this was a movie I actually saw back when it came out. They actually, that's kind of a funny story. They shot the movie theater scene where Mia goes on the date with Sebastian, Seb, and they're in this movie theater, and she skips out on the date with her boyfriend, I guess she's saying, and they go and watch this movie. That theater is called the Rialto Theater. It doesn't show movies anymore, but it's a very historic theater in the city of South Pasadena, where I actually used to live during college. And coming soon, I will be writing. Well, I've been writing this book about the theater. It's a fiction work. It's based on the theater. It's not actually about the theater, but it's kind of inspired by the theater because I would drive by that theater every day after school, every single night, seeing the marquee lit up. I just think it's a super cool marquee in theater and a testament to the way things used to be. I actually have taken a tour inside of it and been through it and saw the actual seat where they filmed the scene. So got a little cool personal connection with the movie. I actually watched a movie in the theater for a special occasion. It was Singing in the Rain, the classic old school movie. I love that movie. Super fun. Saw it with a former partner, so it definitely has a little bit of sentimental value. But it's a great movie overall. La La Land, I think, has that great blend of current times and also that classic 1940s golden age movie magic. So, anyway, I love the movie. I think it's really fun. I'm not super big into musicals, but this is one that I thought was really well shot, directed, acted. Music was good, not too over the top or annoying. So we have a couple themes here in this video that won't be as long, but it will still be a decent amount of themes. We got 6 of them. First one being there's no such thing as bad press. That's the first one. The second one is that love can change your life. And I know that seems pretty standard, but what I mean is the sum of two parts is bigger than when you're alone. I guess that's kind of the theme. That love can, when you're with someone, your sum is greater than just being by yourself. You can do so much more. Your potential is so much higher when you're with someone versus when you're not, when you're by yourself. So we'll see that in the movie. Number 3, love means showing up. Big time theme for sure. Number 4, having 2 stars is hard. Number 5, conflict in good faith is essential. Number 6, it's possible to love someone, want the best for them, and care about them without being in love with them. So those are our themes for the video today. Let's first get into the first theme. There is no such thing as bad press. So we see it in the kind of beginning stages of the movie where you see Sebastian honk his horn at Mia when she's in the car and they're in traffic. You think at first, wow, this is off to a terrible start. And then you see the scene where he's playing at the club or at the restaurant bar and gets fired, and she's taken by him. She sees him and was like, oh my gosh, like look at this guy. He's so dreamy playing this music, and she goes up to him, and he's pissed because he just got fired and totally blows her off. Like even it does the classic snub, and she goes, what the hell, just totally blows her off. And she's about to give him a compliment, and he just walks away. She then sees him at this party later on, and that's where they have these magical moments of, I don't want to call it hatred, because I don't think that's really what this is. To be honest, it's more of annoyance, where he was rude, he blew her off, she sees him again, because LA is a small place, even if you don't think so, and all the industry people are somehow always connected. And she sees him and was like, oh my gosh, that's the guy, and then annoys him and tells him to play Iran and starts dancing and making a fool of herself. And he gets upset and comes over to her and was like, I'm a legit musician, blah, blah, blah. But then you see it transition. So what I mean when I say there's no such thing as bad press is kind of the theme that Marshall said it in How I Met Your Mother, where he's like, the part of your brain that makes you want to kill someone is like right next to the brain that makes you want to, part of the brain that makes you want to jump their bones. And I think it's kind of true. The whole thing is that indifference, literally not caring one way or the other, is way worse than not liking someone. And I'm not here to say that, oh, if you hate someone, that actually is healthy. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I more so mean is that people are, like, I guess in this instance, but in general, like, you can't have, I guess, like, care shows up in weird ways. We see it in this example where Sebastian and Mia have this, kind of unfortunate run-in. And if Mia didn't care about Sebastian, she would have just not thought about him ever again. She would have saw him at performing, and she would have just been like, there's that guy. I remember him from last time. And then she just would have gone on with her life. And Sebastian wouldn't have, and let's say Sebastian didn't care about her, he wouldn't have come up to her and started talking to her. He would have just let it go and be like, that girl is making a fool of herself, whatever. So what I'm trying to say is they both are clearly into each other, but they don't want to admit it. They're annoyed with each other, but it's like you're kind of annoyed because you like them, and they did you dirty, and you do want to be with them, but they did you dirty, so you're like, no, I don't want to. They're kind of being, I guess, stubborn a little bit. But you see it. You see like the no press. There's no such thing as bad press, right? Because he snubs her. He acts rude to her. He kind of acts a little rude as well to her at the party. And then you see her shout to him as he's leaving. And granted, she was being annoyed by short, annoying writer dude who we all know this type of guy. He's such an LA figure. Writer guy who has big dreams, who thinks he's gonna, who thinks he's the man, but he's not. And she asks Sebastian to save him. And he comes to her rescue and gets her keys and then walks her to her car. You see them have this tap dance number, and they're watching the sunrise, and it's super pretty. Or maybe that's the nah. I don't know if it's the sunrise or the sunset. I really can't tell what they were trying to go for here. But they have this magical moment, and then she gets in her car, and he walks back. And if you notice, his car was literally parked right next to the house. So you might think that Sebastian's annoyed with Mia. Oh, yeah, he doesn't like her. As you can see, like, there's bad press, right? He's trashing her. He's all rude and stuff. No, he liked her because he walked her down all the way to the car when his car was a mile up the street, like 2 feet from where they started. So no one just walks with someone for that long, talks with them, does a dance number with them if they're not interested. So I mean this theme a little facetiously, but I think it just illustrates that if people give you their time and energy, even if it might be a little bit annoyed, even if it might be a little bit, stubborn, it illustrates that they do still care. Because if they didn't care, they wouldn't have done anything. They would have been indifferent. So, anyway, that's theme number one. And as we could see, they have this whirlwind romance. He asks her out. He finds her at the lot. They go to the club. They meet John Legend. And then they go on a date and have this magical sort of evening. So love can definitely grow. That's kind of what I put on this first theme, is love can grow, and love can manifest in annoyance, I guess. So that's theme number one. All right, so theme number two, as we mentioned, love can change your life. It's certainly true. You're better together than you are apart. And that's not to say that every couple needs to be together. And that's not to say that just by coupling up, you're automatically going to be better. Because some people can actually be worse with someone. I guess what I'm trying, this theme that I see in the movie is that when you're with someone that you love, it can elevate you to levels that you wouldn't have been able to have if you were by yourself. So we see it throughout with both of them supporting each other, at least in the early going. So she's an actress. He's a jazz musician. They both have pretty difficult careers. It's really hard to make it. Having been in the journalism world, it's certainly difficult to put your face up there and to be rejected and perform and people not like your stuff. It's hard. But we see both of them supporting each other. She goes to his jazz show. She doesn't even like jazz, but she's willing to try for him. And then further than that, she goes with him to this club, and then he smashes the sign, right? And they do all this stuff together in his pursuit of his dream of owning a jazz club. And you see her support him in that. He also supports her in her show and saying, "Hey, you should do this," or doing the one woman play. Like she gets inspired. That's you see it where she's in love with this guy and starts to put herself out there and write this show or whatever. Maybe she would have done it down the line, but I think they both can acknowledge that they both wouldn't have changed if both of them weren't in each other's lives. Or maybe they would have, but it would have happened a lot later. So my whole thing is being together being in love, being together and being in a healthy love can inspire you to change for the better, to be better. And so I really do appreciate that in this movie. We see it throughout that love really can provide invaluable support, just an insane amount of support. And we see it too with when they have kind of this falling out, right? So we'll talk about Mia and Sebastian first. So Mia has the one-woman play, and we'll talk about it in the next one, that he misses the play, and she's upset, and she runs back home to Boulder City, Nevada. But he happens to know someone. They give him a call, and so she said, I quit, don't come after me, whatever. He gets the calls from this person saying that they're interested in her. He could have just sat on it. He could have just respected her choice and, like, all right, well, she said she doesn't want it, whatever. But he loves her. He wants to see her succeed. So he drives in the middle of the night to Nevada. Yeah, it's 4 hours away from LA. And goes to, he doesn't even know where she lives, but just remembered the detail, which is another great thing he does, is remembering details from stuff she said about living across the street from the library. So he's honking his horn outside, because that's the thing he does, and finds her and is like, you're going to do this audition. I don't want to take no for an answer. And then, I guess, found a hotel, doesn't sleep at her place, found a hotel or whatever, and then got some coffee in the morning and drove her home. So that illustrates what love is. It's being selfless for each other, and they both inspire each other to be better, to go chase their dreams. It's the whole thing you see. You see a lot of this online with, the idea of a power couple, right? The idea of a couple who is, both parties are doing amazing things. That is the ideal. And this isn't to say that following dreams has to necessarily be getting a job or getting a job on TV or anything. It could be whatever your dreams are. But I think healthy relationships support each other's dreams. That's just what it is. So good partners support each other, and you see it in this way with Sebastian going to Mia and really inspiring her and giving her confidence to go and do something that's really scary. Because you see it plenty of auditions, she gets ignored. They say, I don't care about you. And he gives her the confidence to go pursue it. Another scene, and we'll get to this later, but another scene that's pivotal is the scene on the bench, where it's kind of like a breakup scene. But you see it where she gets the audition and she's waiting to hear back from this movie. And she goes, what are we doing? Like, where are we? The dreaded relationship question. And he says, because I think she's shooting in Paris, if I'm not mistaken. And he said, oh, well, there's plenty of jazz bars in Paris. I think they kind of both realize in this moment that they're going to break up. They kind of know that their time is limited. But he's still supportive, even though he loves her. And the selfish thing would be, you should come on tour with me. You should tour with me. You should be with me, and we should do this. You should help me follow my dream. He's like, no, you need to follow your dream, and we'll figure it out. Whatever that looks like, we'll figure it out. You see later that the figuring it out was them breaking up, but that's, I guess, kind of what I'm saying, is that when you really truly love someone, you don't think about yourself. You think about them, what's best for them. And sometimes what's best for them is staying with you. But in this instance, he realizes and recognizes, what's best for you is actually pursuing your dream. So we see that with Sebastian and Mia, but then with Mia to Sebastian, vice versa, she supports him in chasing his dream of opening up a jazz club. Inspires him to, number one, talk to John Legend, saying, hey, And that's the whole thing about challenging each other. There has to be that healthy dose of challenging and supporting, accepting and challenging, right? She recognizes he's got a great opportunity. This John Legend character is a big time artist, asking him like, hey, why don't you talk to him? Why don't you see what's up? Like, that this could be a big opportunity for you. And he's like, oh, I don't know, but he eventually accepts because she knows that's the right thing for him to do, and actually designs him the logo he uses. Seb's, right? That's a huge thing. She didn't have to do that. She didn't have to make a logo for him or push him out of his boundaries or even go to the club with him. She could have been like, I don't like jazz. Jazz is dumb. You're right. Whatever. But she supports him, and I think that's cool. So, anyway, this is big time in terms of their relationship, illustrating the point that love can change your life. All right, so theme number 3 is love means showing up. It's probably the shortest of the themes, but I think it's super important in life, and it's really such a heart-wrenching scene when you're watching it in the movie about being there for your partner. And I guess we kind of see this in multiple ways. So the first time we see it is when, or I guess where the lack thereof, right, is where Mia has her one-woman play. And Sebastian forgets about it, and he has this photo shoot, and he tries to do both, and he's not there for Mia's play. And so it's really sad because you see him, making this stupid face, right, for the photographer and playing his keys. And he kind of knows. You pause it right there. He knows he's messed up. And he tries to get there to his play, and you could see Mia struggling. There's nobody in the audience, especially the one person she wanted there. And he comes at the very end, and she's upset, and she's like, it's over. And you think at first, oh, what, the relationship's over? And she says, no, like, she doesn't say yes or no, but she just says, like, this whole thing, I'm done. I'm getting out of L.A. I'm going back home. And just kind of leaves. And he obviously feels like crap, understandably, and he probably should for not prioritizing it. And so I think that's a theme that is important because we see her do that for him. Start of the tour, for his tour, she shows up to the show, and he sees her in the crowd. And, he smiles at her, and she's looking at him and watching him play. And, he's not playing stuff that he wants, but it's still a good moment because, as the theme says, love means showing up. We talk a lot, it's just me in this podcast, but I talk a lot about support and what that means in a relationship. And so I think that not even just romantic relationships, but any sort of relationship in life, showing up, it's the biggest thing you can do for someone. I mean, there's so many different things, right? And I think we think about it in terms of like events, like games and performances and stuff like that. And that's the thing you think about always. Like, yeah, I remember, when my parent wasn't there for this game, and I really needed them, and I needed their support. Kids may not show it. We definitely don't show it. And we're ungrateful little bastards. But basically, we do appreciate when parents show up because it really hurts us when they don't show up. It's one of those things, right? So I think that in terms of any relationship, being there for big moments matters. It's the whole thing of put your money where your mouth is. Actions mean louder, speak louder than words. Actions mean more than just words. And so when you put the time aside, you go there, you support them, it means everything. So the fact that Mia is there for Sebastian and is there supporting his career at his show, even though she doesn't necessarily like jazz or whatever. That means a lot to him. It's a big thing that she did. It makes it even more sad and heart-wrenching and hurtful when she's out there in a one-woman show, putting her money on the line, putting her heart on the line, her talent on the line, and he's not there for her. And I'm sure it was an accident on his part. He feels bad. He tries to make it up, tries to go there, and does make it up to her later, as we see. But him not being there was a huge, huge letdown, and something you got to be cognizant of. Your partner says, "Hey, I need you here for this thing. Can you come to this thing?" You're there. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You got to be there. Anyway, so that's just all I wanted to say. I think, love means showing up in the big moments. And I mean, we kind of already mentioned it with the loving providing support where he goes to Boulder City. But he shows up for her in her time of need, too. She's feeling down. She's feeling dejected. And he goes to her in Boulder City and tells her this news. He could have just called her. He could have texted her or whatever. But no, he goes there and gets her back to LA, which I think is big. So, theme number 3. Love means showing up. I think probably the second most important theme to this movie is theme number 4. Having 2 stars is hard. Speaking from experience, as someone who was on TV, I had to be extroverted for my career. Am I an extroverted person? I think I am, but I have moments where I can be quiet and be by myself and be completely happy and content with that, right? But I think the best relationships are a complementary relationship. You have one who's high, one who's low, one who's extroverted, one who's introverted. And so we see that with a lot of successful relationships where there's the person who yaps and there's the person who listens. And so having 2 stars is hard when you have 2 people who are both extroverted. Only one person can talk at a time. I'm not trying to sit here and say that 2 extroverted people can't work together. They can. It's definitely possible. It's definitely possible for 2 introverted people to work together. There's no hard and fast rules with love. And if I ever try and speak in absolutes, let me know. There are certain love laws, if you will, but this is one that anything can work. Anything, anywhere can work. It's all about the right combination. But this movie does show it is hard to have 2 people who are stars. Meaning, not even about like attention in this way, about like them both being extroverted and one can't get the word in over the other. That's not what I mean. But it's more like she's an actress. She's going to Paris. She's trying to make her way. And he's a musician. He's touring. So under the typical introvert-extrovert dynamic, the theory would go, and this is why we kind of see this fight happen during the green scene. Also, I mean, this is probably for a different day, but there is so much use of color in this movie, which I really think is interesting. The green shades and stuff. Like, what does that mean? Whatever. But the reason why they fight in this scene, this is the fight scene. This is really the fight scene that kind of puts into play them having trouble or maybe thinking about breaking up. And we'll get to this in the 5th one. But you see he has to go on tour, and they rarely see each other. He's working all the time and surprises her with this dinner, which is super cute, but they don't see each other, and his career's kind of taking off. She's not there. And then roles kind of flip a little bit, or I guess, she meets him at his level where she's about to get a big movie, and she says the classic line, "What does this mean for us?" And he says, "I don't know, but we'll figure it out. I'll always love you." But I bring this theme up because we see that they break up. They break up. They have these big careers and they do awesome things. She's a huge movie star. And again, there's plenty of people in Hollywood, and not that they're the beacon of healthy relationships, but that make it work. Two people who are equally successful making it work. You know, the boss couples, the power couples out there. There's plenty of them that do things in the right way. But I think that it does make it difficult when you have one person, you have both people, moving meteorically, like just going super high, but they're going in different directions. Like, if they both worked together doing films together in LA and they were from, let's say, Kansas or something, that'd be a little bit different because they're doing the same thing in the same place. But he's a touring musician, she's an actress, she has to stay in LA for work. He goes everywhere. So what I'm saying, like the two stars things makes it logistically difficult to sustain a relationship. Whether that's time talking to each other or just time in general, resources, everything becomes a lot more difficult when there's two kind of alphas, two leaders in the situation. And this doesn't necessarily even have to be gendered specific, but I think that even when you're raising children, that becomes a major issue, right? You can't have two doctors who work 80-hour work weeks also try and raise a kid. It's just not practical. It's not realistic. You could do it, but who is the kid going to be raised by? What is that going to look like? What's the quality of their marriage going to be? And I'm not here to say either that two people can't make it work if they're both working really hard all the time. I just think that it is more difficult than a more traditional relationship where one person works all the time or does like this huge thing and then the other one just kind of does their own thing. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I always use the doctor thing. Like, for myself, if my wife was a doctor and we had kids together and she needed me to stay at home and she was making a ton more money than I was, I'd take the back seat for sure because I want to support her. I don't know. I think that in this regard, it's hard to appease both people while also having a relationship be important too. And that's why we see Mia at the end with this guy. We don't know the story of them. I don't want to make any assumptions. But this guy seems like a solid dude. Doesn't seem like he's an actor or anybody famous or anything like that. So she's the star in their marriage. I don't know if he stays home or not, but appears to have a good relationship with his kids, and she's the star. You kind of see it at the end where Mia envisions her life if they stay together, her and Sebastian. But I don't know. I think that a lot of relationships at work is the one that yaps and the one that listens. And I don't know. I don't know why that is. I think it's just a reality thing of we got to make sure everyone has their role in the relationship. Like, one person is the excitement, the other person sits back and analyzes. And I don't know. I just think that this movie really illustrates that sometimes pursuing your dream means you have to let go of the relationship. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it just highlights the reality of the situation that sometimes, like, you can't have it all. You can't pursue your dream and also be with someone who's pursuing theirs, because it will leave you both being neglected emotionally. And we kind of see that happening. He's on tour, he's never home, she never sees him, and it creates distance. And she doesn't deserve that, he doesn't deserve that. And every couple can make their own ideal scenario, but in this one particularly with Mia and Sebastian, it doesn't appear very optimally. So, because he asks her, can't you practice in Boise? And He's like, no, I have to be here. It just, again, illustrates the tough nature of being on the road. Being a musician on the road is hard. That's why people are usually single when they do these things. So, anyway, that's the number 4.